Hello everyone, and welcome to Upskilling and Reskilling India's Present and Future Workforce with Digital Education, a webinar discussion held in partnership between Times Higher Education and Coursera for Campus. My name's Ashton Wenborn and I'm the Special Projects Deputy Editor at THE. We're joined today by a number of experts and decision makers from India's higher education sector. So I would like to introduce Susmita Samanta, Pro-Vice-Chancellor of Kalinga Institute of Industrial Technology, Dwarika Prasad Yunyal, Pro-Vice-Chancellor of RV University, and Raghav Gupta, Managing Director of India and APAC at Coursera. So thank you to our panel for speaking with us today and to our audience for joining the webinar. We will be taking questions from the audience throughout the session, so please do enter those in the Q&A box on your screen. There is a growing demand for institutions to offer education to individuals at any stage of their lives and to deliver such teaching in a way that suits a diverse range of learners. By giving individuals the opportunity to make learning a lifelong pursuit, universities can help create a more knowledgeable and employable society. But course providers must consider how best to deliver this new model of education in order to upskill all manner of students. So I'd like to begin today's discussion by asking Susmita and Dwarika if your institutions have seen a growing demand for lifelong learning provisions and what kind of students you're seeing this demand coming from. Susmita, perhaps you could start us off today.
Thank you, Ashton, and with my co-panelists, Dr. Dwarika and Mr. Raghav. If you see the continuous learning culture coming in this country or coming in this globe, yes, continuous learning requirement was always there, and people those who are working in different domains, starting from technology, the healthcare, or economics, like the domains those who are prone to change very fast, the skilling and reskilling in education sector was going on. And slowly we find that this responsibility has come to the domain of academic institution just before 2 to 3 years. The skilling, reskilling, and educating the people in the workplace, that was the job of industries, a job of the professional institutions where the people are working since long. And that was going on through continuous work engagement. And sometimes we find little bit of hand-holding by the seniors, by the experts in the domain, or by the peers, it was going on. But suddenly we are finding that in last 3 to 4 years, that in the way the job scenario is changing, the requirement of the industries are changing so drastically, I can say that the disruptions are happening in different space. The disruptions are happening in technology space, disruptions are happening even in governance and political space, which is influencing the economy, and different type of economic system is being developed by different countries, and where we find that the reskilling of the people to match that requirement is becoming important. And we find that people are slowly coming again to the academic institution to have some certification courses, to have some diploma courses on different domain, to keep their place secured in different industries. That is happening, and I can say that this is the change in last 4 to 5 years.
Great, thank you. Dwarika, I wonder if you have noticed the same kind of changes that Susmita mentioned, and have they also been in the last 4 or 5 years? Has it changed over the course of the last 2, perhaps?
Hi, good afternoon, good morning, good evening, depending on which part of the world we live in at this point of time. Hi, Raghav, hi, Professor Samanta, and hi, Ashton. Thank you for having me here in this very interesting discussion. I would like to build on where Professor Susmita had told you about the structure of skilling and reskilling in this country. So we just put up a little bit of historical perspective to this so that our audiences also understand where are we coming from in terms of what is happening in the modern technology-driven education sector today. So we always had large, broad, multidisciplinary university systems since the British times in this country. before we had the Gurukulam system, before the Britishers came, and so on and so forth. We had high quality engineering and professional colleges in various other disciplines. We had the IITs, the IIMs, and other professional colleges from the 60s, 50s from IITs, and 60s for the IIMs. And as Susmita has rightly said, we always had tertiary institutions or institutions run by corporates. So Tata Management, TMTC always existed. A lot of other corporates had their L&D and training institutions. Aditya Birla had it. Many Bajaj have it. Many large business groups always had created their L&D and training schools, which are quasi, even public sector companies like Hindustan Petroleum has a management development institute in Pune, and so on and so forth. Indian Oil has it. So institutions have always had for their own employees to train, retrain, reskill. They always existed that kind of an opportunity. Second, IITs to a lesser extent, but IIMs, which are the management institutions, always had a large mid-tier continuous training modules and programs of various kinds. They ranged from 2-day workshops to 1-week workshops to 3-month mid-tier programs. So they always had management development program or reskilling of the mid-tier management professionals into getting towards the next stage for their careers. But what has changed in last at least 10 years and more prominently in last couple of years is that individuals, irrespective of the domain or the organizations they belong to, have realized that they are becoming redundant in the larger work environment. From my own experiences in large universities, as well as in the IIMs and the other business school system, my own students who would have graduated in 10 years, last 15 years, and recently last 5 years has started coming back to me for advice. Is that what would they be doing for next 5 years? They need to completely reimagine, reskill, unlearn a lot of things which they've already done with their very good degrees, very good programs. They've gone through it, but they've realized that they're not being able to keep pace with what is happening in the changing nature of workforce, what is changing nature of skills which are now required. The jobs themselves are completely being changed. The new gig economy, tech-driven economies have completely reimagined, digital economies have completely changed the nature of work itself. And hence, students and now corporate executives who had gone through a traditional education system have suddenly found themselves to be inequipped to compete with millennials, compete with Gen Zs, compete with the new modern realities and the challenges of new workforce. And hence, the biggest change which I would see has come in skilling is that individuals have taken the responsibility of reskilling themselves. And I'm sure Raghav will share the trend what is happening in Coursera, courses in uptick, which has happened in last 5 years. But suddenly it's not funded by organizations or they need to go for mandatory HR-driven L&D courses. Individuals have started realizing that this is what they are needed to reskill themselves. They are paying for it. If you see the trend in edtech, in professional courses in last 5 years, you have some 5-6 major players who have emerged like Upgrad, Talent Edge, Eruditus, Great Learning, and few more. And there are wide ranges of professional certification courses which they've been able to come up with in a blended format, and individuals are paying for it. Organizations are not paying. Maybe sometimes they reimburse the money, but they're not paying for it, which means individuals, typically in India, in the mid-tier career segment, have realized that it's their responsibility to invest in their own learning, in their own skilling and reskilling. That is the biggest change which I see, as that it is moved from corporate responsibility to individual responsibility to unlearn, relearn, and reskill themselves. Thank you.
Thank you. No, that's very interesting. I think your points about students kind of taking their education into their own hands, maybe moving it away from their employers, is something that we're definitely seeing more of. And students want to control not only what they're learning, but the way that they're learning as well. And, you know, you also mentioned, I'm sure Coursera's has got a great deal of insights into, you know, what students are coming to them, what their expectations are. So Raghav, I think we'd love to hear what Coursera is seeing in relation to, you know, the points that Sasmita and Dorika raised.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Ashton. And absolute pleasure to be here with Professor Sasmita and Dr. Dwarika. I will echo some of what they've shared. I will add to some of what they've shared, and I will also disagree with a little bit of what they've shared as well. And just to set context a little bit, right? So, and we have the advantage of being able to look at a large volume of data, right? So on our platform, you know, when we think about Coursera, there are learners, educators, and institutions. And there is, you know, close to 85 million learners, close to 200 institutions, and then, close to 200 educators who teach on our platform, and then about 6,000 institutions. And I'll share a little bit of what's been happening, especially in the last year and a half since we've all been, undergoing the pandemic. Now, when I talk about institutions, these institutions comprise businesses, governments, and campuses. You know, so today we work with 2,000 businesses, 4,000 campuses, and about 100 different government organizations. Now, looking at this large, you know, database, what we see is firstly, you know, if we think about industry, you know, we think about industry as undergoing double disruption since COVID hit. Automation was already happening, and COVID accelerated a lot of what automation was already doing. And this double disruption has resulted in, I would say, 4 big themes, the way we look at it. First, there have been job losses in many, many industries. You know, World Economic Forum estimates that there have been, over the next 2-3 years, there are going to be 80 million job losses. Some have already happened, some are still to come, because either certain industries, you know, just lost business, or work got automated, right? So one theme has been job losses. Second, I think 80% plus companies are saying that they're looking to reskill their people. And both Professor Sasmita and Dwarka spoke about new skills that companies are looking for, because the way business happens is changing quite rapidly. And many, many companies are saying that. The third thing, which I think is also interesting, is we're expecting remote work is not going to go away post the pandemic going away. You know, COVID will go away at certain stage, but remote work will not. And, you know, I'm joining you from a tea estate near Darjeeling today, and it's misty and everything. And I'm being able to join from here because I'm working remotely. So I'm not tied to my office.
Gaurav, I was very tempted to ask, which part of the hills are you in? You know, and I was very envious and jealous.
Which is why this nice cup of Darjeeling tea as well. But you know, the reality is that remote work is not going to go away. It is something which many companies have announced quite publicly, that this is something which will stay. And then the last bit of this 4-topic theme is digitalization. You know, 90% of businesses in the country have said that they are digitalizing a lot more. And what this means is that the kind of skills that students will need in the future will be more digital oriented, will be more data oriented. And I said earlier that we are seeing this 80 million, you know, kind of a figure in terms of job losses that are expected to happen. But at the same time, there are new jobs being created. And there is Microsoft research which says that 150 million new jobs will get created in the next 4 years. And most of these jobs are in the digital domain. Given some of this context, firstly, I think we're seeing many organizations are finding that institutions will play an even bigger role when it comes to skilling working professionals like all of us on this meeting for the future of work. You know, so World Economic Forum says 90% of companies have said that they are investing in the skilling of their workers. You know, Deloitte has said 80% companies are investing more in the skilling of their workers. And a lot of that skilling is happening in the domains of digital, data, technology, and so on and so forth. So that's one thing that we're seeing. Second, like Dr. Dwarika said, individuals are also realizing the need to invest in themselves. So that whether, you know, an individual is spending time and money to invest in their own skilling is happening. But when I look to 2,000 companies, you know, in India who are training their employees on the Coursera platform, an Axis Bank or a Tata Communications, then this need for reskilling, which has really hit home in the last 1.5 years of double disruption that we have seen in industry, I think that has kicked in. And the other thing that we have seen in these programs is, earlier, to some extent, a lot of these programs were about employee engagement. If you got to provide learning and development, if you sent your employees to a nice campus, some of this was about training, some of this was about employee engagement. A lot of them have shifted to skills first learning. Focus on a specific skill and get your employees ready for that. Obviously for the last 1.5 years, they've all been happening online. They've not been happening on physical campuses. And online could be on a platform like Coursera, which is a lot of asynchronous learning from top universities, or it could be a live program from KIIT or another institution where faculty are conducting some of these programs live. So yes, we are seeing massive adoption and increase in the level of lifelong learning. It is happening at an individual level. In India, I think last year in January, we had 5 million learners on our platform, and we closed last year with 12 million learners on our platform. So it went up by 110%. So those are individuals coming and investing in their learning, but we are definitely seeing institutions investing in the learning and development of their employees. And I think as we progress this conversation, what does that mean for higher education, I think is a topic that would be good for us to kind of talk about as well.
Thank you, Raghav. I think that overall gives us a really good starting point for the conversation. Clearly, students are interested in upskilling and reskilling. But I suppose as the course providers, what does that look like for you? How do you change the way that we deliver education from being, the kind of, Dwarika, you mentioned having quite broad multidisciplinary institutions. Is that set to change? How, what is it going to look like?
I think the way things are moving in India, especially in terms of the new education policy, which was unveiled last year. So that has come up as a really good broad-based policy framework for universities and colleges to adopt and adapt to. And that has refreshingly, given a lot of emphasis on skilling, a lot of emphasis on balancing the 3 pillars of knowing, doing, and being, where a lot of new programs have been introduced for mental well-being, for managing your career, managing self. At one side of it, at the another side is all about tremendous emphasis is being given on internships, live projects, and most importantly, for the first time ever, Indian institutions are being offered an opportunity to provide modular education, which is credit-based modular education. So the way it is being defined that now we are moving away from a 3-year degree program at an undergraduate level, increasingly to 4-year programs, from 2-year master's programs to maybe 1-year master's programs, and directly from undergraduate programs to PhD programs. So that is structurally one change has happened, that slowly all our undergraduate programs will become 4-year programs. But at the same time, modularity is being provided that if you finish 1 year of college, you get a certificate. If you get finish 2 years of college, you don't go empty-handed. You're unable to study further, or you want to take a break at this point of time. You can go to work, come back after 2 years, finish your graduation or finish your post-graduation in that sense. A lot of modularity. You still get a diploma. You finish 3 years, you get a bachelor's degree. You finish 4 years, you get a bachelor's degree with an honors. So I think this has really provided a wide gamut of experimentation undergraduate large universities can now focus on. I'm sure larger and older institutions like KIIT has always been at the forefront of changes, but younger ones like mine at Bengaluru, where we're just setting up a large liberal undergraduate university in 3 domains of economics, finance, design, and liberal arts. I think for us, it's a good challenge for us to start incorporating a lot of these modularity More importantly, it allows us to provide course content, exceedingly high quality course content from MOOCs, from large platforms like Coursera, like edX. This is a really huge welcome change. While we do have our own platforms like Swayam and NPTEL, but I think suddenly if flexibility is being given to institutions like ours, and if we can manage the cost part of it, it will give us a huge fillip to the quality of content, quality of instruction, which we can easily provide and curate, rather than creating that content ourselves where we might not have the capability. We can easily partner and curate that particular content with platforms, collaborating at a platform with Coursera and others, which was very much integrated as part of the degree program itself, which has been the case earlier in the other Western universities. But today, with NEP giving us that kind of a flexibility to integrate high quality content from world over, from wherever we can, we should do that. At the same time, huge emphasis is being given on the internships and immersion part of it, which brings us the skilling. That, okay, what kind of skills every year, what kind of things we can collaborate with industry, industry partners can come, we can co-create and co-deliver industry-led programs where students get not just internship, but a job offer after working in 3 years to 4 years along with that particular industry in a particular segment. So I think new age technology companies, large data companies, data science organization, analytics firms, large consulting organizations, banks and others will be very, very happy to collaborate with academic institutions, which in the past they had not. They had collaborated only with either engineering colleges or with professional management institutions. Today, we have the opportunity to completely professionalize all degree programs across domains and make them a lot more futuristic, a lot more skill ready, and a lot more job ready. So I think that is which I see is the movement towards which all of us have to go to.
Thank you. So Smita, a lot of the points I think that Dwarika has raised seem to centre around flexibility of learning. And I'd love to hear about how you found implementing that kind of flexibility at your institution. I think it kind of complicates the way that we educate people, but clearly is something that is very much in demand. Do you agree with that? Perhaps not.
Yeah. Thank you. In present national education policy, the core of this education policy 2020 of India, it revolves around 4 things. One is the policy envisions that the universities should be multidisciplinary. The many courses should be offered by the universities where the students should be getting the chances to connect themselves to different subjects and can get the knowledge out of that. Second objective of this national education policy is to give autonomy to take the decision to each and every stakeholders, starting from the students, the faculties, the authorities of the institutions, and also the policymakers. The students are being given authority to take the decision on which language, even which language they will be studying, what really they will be studying, and what will be the composition of the program itself, what courses they want to take. That sort of flexibility is there. Third, flexibility is coming to the students that for how long they want to be connected with which institution. If they are interested to be in KIT for 1 year and they want to take the certificate and go away from that institution and join another one institution to get a diploma or a degree, that decision depends on the student only. That is also there. Then autonomy is there with the faculty members that what courses they will be teaching, and in a program structure, how much component they'll be bringing from which aspect. That autonomy is there with the faculty members. And the institutions are being given the autonomy that how they will be designing their university objective, vision, and from there, how the programs can be designed, which will be matching to their vision itself. There they shows the guidelines that any university established, they have to design their vision. Their vision should revolve around that how much local challenges, the issues, the local subject, the knowledge base they want to bring into their university platform. how much national subject they want to bring into the university platform, how much international subject they want to bring into the university platform. And with those subjects and with that knowledge base, how the courses can be designed. Then the third, as I says, that the decision is there with the policy makers, that whenever the credit banking will be there, students will be moving around the institutions, the universities, then the responsibility lies with the policy makers, how they will be integrating it. So coming to the certification, diploma, degree, and the flexibility of the courses, now each one of the university in this country like ours, of course, KIT was following a very flexible academic system since last 7 to 8 years. Since 2010, we started offering the choice-based credit system. Initially, as it was, we had little bit of, I can say that exposure of only offering 10 to 12 credit in a flexible mode, but slowly we shifted to the major minors concept. We offered number of electives, number of majors, number of minors across the subject. Even our engineering students are allowed to take courses from law. They can take the minors, even from the School of Medicine, they can take the minor from School of Dental Sciences. So that sort of flexibility is happening with the students in the campus. Coming to the continuous learning, the digitalization and continuous learning, whatever we are discussing today, I will agree with Dr. Dwaraka, whatever he spoke about the modular system of teaching. Previously, when we were discussing about executive education, accommodating the executives with the regular course of education was very difficult for the universities, because anyone was interested to come for the industry to learn from the academic institution, they had to live there at least for one semester to complete a course. So that sort of system we all were following in the universities. But now slowly, by keeping on the requirement of the course and keeping on the requirement of the target audience, the courses are being designed. The courses for each and every course, the decisions are being taken in the university level, in the institution level, that of how much time a student should be connected to this course to learn the subject properly, how much time they should invest on this course to apply that knowledge and to learn through application. So by keeping that in mind, the modular designs are being made, which is facilitating the executives to come and connect to the academic institution and learn the course in a particular period of time. It can be 2 months, 3 months, 4 months. But I think that after this outbreak of COVID-19, that problem is also over, because now after this outbreak of COVID-19, perhaps the digital education has got a different level of recognition. It has been widely accepted by one and all. That previously, while we were discussing about, I remember digital education or the regular education, people are thinking digital education, online education is having little bit of lower standard of quality than the regular education. But in last 1.5 years, that mindset has totally changed. And through this digital education and online education, I think more and more focus can be given on continuous learning. And the people, those who are there in industry, they'll be getting the platform to learn. Another one thing I would like to bring to the discussion, that whatever Dr. Dwaraka was saying, that because of the disruptions, the people are coming, trying to learn from the institution, that historically the institutional system was there in the industry, and slowly they are shifting to the academic institution. And now the individuals are investing for their learning. I completely agree with that. With that, I can say previously, in our previous generation, and up to some extent in our generation, people are making their career plan either in one domain and with one organization. Suppose somebody is joining as the faculty in any state university, he plans that he will be spending his whole 30 to 35 years of career in that same university itself. But today, if anyone is joining as the computer science faculty in KIIT, after 5 years, he is planning that how he will be going and serving in Microsoft for 10 years. And again, after serving in Microsoft for 10 years, he's planning how he'll be having his own industry and he wants to be the entrepreneur. So the aspiration of the people is changing, and they don't want to stick to one organization, stick to one profession throughout their lives. And we find that, and that aspiration, I can see that previously we are thinking that people will be connected to a particular profession for 5 to 10 years. Now also that time is also being reduced. And that's the another one major reason why the skilling and reskilling and continuous education requirement is increasing day by day. This present generation kids, I find my own alumni of my own university, that they get good job from the campus, because KIT is known for the campus placement. We get around 90 to 100% placement to each batch of the students. They go here with a job, maybe in Deloitte, maybe in Microsoft, maybe in Amazon, anywhere. But after 3 years or 5 years, while we talk to them to learn about what our alumni are doing, we find they are the CEO of one organization, what they have started. They are working in Nepal, they are working in Bangladesh, or in Finland or in France. Somewhere they have established their company and they're working in a different domain. We find even tech students, they are making their career in film, they are making their career in direction, they are making their career in fashion design. Now we find many tech graduates, they are making their career in fashion design. And for that, now it's forcing us that we are requesting the School of Fashion Design to offer some courses, some minor to the tech students. We find the craze is there in that field itself. Even the students are also showing interest to do minor in fashion design, particularly the students of computer science, students of mechanical engineering, they are doing minor in fashion design. So that sort of requirement is coming because the aspirations are changing of in this generation, and maybe because of that, this requirement for this continuous learning is increasing. And what you say that the requirement is coming to the institution. Of course, if the aspiration is changing, anyway, the requirement will coming to the institution, because it is not connected to a particular industry or to connected to a particular profession itself, where the people are working.
Thank you, Sasmita. I think there are a number of points there that were really interesting that I'd like to follow through a little bit more. You mentioned that students can have the opportunity to minor in education, in medicine or engineering, or kind of almost pick and choose bits from various courses that suit them and their potential career path better. And you also spoke about the idea that perhaps a student doesn't have to be tied to a specific institution or company throughout their learning journey. And those are really quite different and very interesting ideas. But I think that something that I think there's a danger that the credentials that students leave education with, can they be recognized by employers? So if someone picks and chooses from multiple different courses and goes to different institutions to do their learning, what kind of a credential do they leave with, you know? Can that then be taken on by employers, or will it not really be recognized very well?
Yes. Yeah, whatever Dr. Dwarika was saying now, that for getting the degree in a particular course, slowly we are moving from the number of years at the time to the number of credits. So anyone is interested or enrolled to get a BTech degree in computer science, he or she has to complete, suppose, 120 credit. And that we ensure that out of that 120 credit, always flexibility is there with the university, that 40 to 50% of the credits should be taken from the department. Other 50% of the credit they have to take from other allied sciences, engineering, humanities, and management courses. Apart from that, if anyone is intelligent, he can complete 160 credit in 4 years. They can take another one major from any other school of completing 40 credit and getting a major in other subject. And if he's interested to take another 20 credit from any other institution, he can get a minor in that. So if anyone is capable enough to take, then it's there. So coming to the recognition of the industry, I can say now the industries need the people, those who are exposed to the different field of knowledge. Now the industry needs the people, those who are experts in different domain. Experts in one domain, that concept has gone. During our time, we are saying that jack of all or master of none, like that. But it's not. Now that concept has gone. Now the industries need the people, those who are masters of 2-3 domains. I can give you some examples that my students, those who are doing minor in healthcare and have done computer science, they are getting very good, very, very good placement opportunities in different big firms, big industries. We find that the people, those who are having a domain knowledge in a particular sector of knowledge like economics, health sciences, even law, even business, and they are having the degree of computer science, they are having the degree of IT, they are very much, I can say that, required by the industries, because we find that the medical technology is coming in a very big way. The intervention of digitization in each and every sector has changed that domain itself. The intervention of digitization in management, we find it's not only the governance, it's the e-governance, with the sound knowledge of strategy, how to strategize the thing with the sound knowledge of human resource management. Each and every manager today is expected to learn that how to govern a system in an e-mode, in an online mode, in digital mode, how to run a system which is present across the globe with multiple offices, multiple locations, and to monitor their activities and to systematize it, strategize it to get the outcome that is also required from a manager itself. The same thing is happening in each and every field. Now, the intervention of digitization, technology in healthcare field, we find lots of instruments, lots of processes have been developed in medical stream itself, in healthcare domain itself, where the intervention of technology is becoming very much required. And we find that two sectors are growing too fast after this COVID-19. That is, one of them is the healthcare. One of the major sector is the healthcare, and the intervention of digitization is growing too fast in that sector itself. So the recognition of industry, whatever, I can see that their recognition of their degree is much more better than the gender degree, whatever we are thinking. So every university now is rethinking to redesign their courses to bring expertise of different domain to that course itself.
Yes, thank you. We've actually had a question from the audience here that I'd like to put to Raghav, which is on a similar kind of topic to what we've been discussing. The question is, what changes can edtech companies make in their online courses so that these become more acceptable to the industry when recruiting candidates? Does improving proctoring systems and online testing in these courses help?
Yeah, I think it's a very good question. I think the question also assumes that companies today do not accept learning happening on online platforms, which may or may not necessarily be the case. So firstly, like I was saying, right, industry is seeing massive changes happening in the kind of skills that are required given COVID and double disruption and all of that. And today, at least on the Coursera platform, there are close to 2,000 companies who are training their employees for the future of work. And because of 2,000 companies using platforms like Coursera for getting their employees ready, there's already a lot of good acceptance to say, look, if my employees can get ready for the future, then students who are learning on campus and also learning on online platforms can possibly have the skills. So firstly, companies are saying it's not an or question, it's an and question, right? It's not a matter of did you study on campus or did you study online, but it's a question of did you study on campus and also online, because that's the complementarity that can come in. The second thing that I think is helpful to keep in mind is companies are very focused on skills first learning. What I mean by that is, if data is coming up in a big way, data scientist is a very important role that many companies are looking to hire for. And there are not enough data scientists out there. So many companies are struggling to hire data scientists. Now, data scientist as a role comprises 5 skills. And these skills are not necessarily the same departments that universities talk about. These are 5 specific skills, right? These are web development, these are statistics, these are probability, and so on and so forth. So companies find that if students who are learning online or on campus are learning towards specific roles, data scientist, full stack web developer, digital analyst, and so on and so forth, the students who come to them are then more prepared for some of those skills of the future. So the second element is that. The first element is it's not an and or question, it's an and question. The second element is thinking skills first learning is quite helpful as well, as opposed to just thinking a domain of learning. And then the third thing is many companies are actually measuring skill development on the Coursera platform. So, if I'm an individual at a bank learning full stack web development, I'm not able to just measure whether I completed a course, whether I scored 80% marks, but I'm actually able to measure using fairly sophisticated data analytics, what is the level of skill development that has happened for me as a learner. And I'm also able to benchmark myself with millions of other learners on the Coursera platform to say I'm in the top X percentile and so on. And companies are looking for students who actually don't just have a CV, but actually a skills profile. And a skills profile would say, look, here are the 6 skills that I've learned, and here are 6 certificates from top universities that I think are relevant as well. I'm a little unsure if improving proctoring systems is necessary for this particular purpose. I think having strong proctoring and academic integrity is definitely important when universities use platforms like Coursera. So in our partnership with, for example, Professor Sasmita's institution, KIIT, there's a lot of academic integrity that we bring to the table so that students can learn and they can also undergo assessments and then be given grades which are reliable. But I'm a little unsure if that speaks to the needs of industry per se. But the three other points that I shared, I think are possibly good ways to think about it.
Thank you. I think another point to consider when implementing a more skills-based model of education is we're talking about upskilling students, but actually there are staff members who need to deliver this kind of learning as well. And that's potentially a fairly large upheaval. So I wonder, Dorika, if you could speak to us about how do you skill your own staff, your own educators, to learn new digital skills for remote teaching or to learn this kind of more modular approach to education? Is that something that's been difficult for you or fairly seamless?
Very valid question. And this has been very critical for last couple of years, more so since last year, where we were running a large social sciences and liberal university where the disciplines are not necessarily technology or digital enabled. We had faculty who were teaching music, theater, literature, social sciences, history, management and others, broader social sciences and non-tech also. So first, training is to change of the mindset, how to embrace technology. I think that is because why was already done. You had to do it. So earlier the discussion would have happened that why would we need to get into technology? We are very happy with chalk and talk. We would want to a large campus. We would want students to be in the class to teach, and then only one kind of pedagogical tool was used, which was more lecture based. Today, we have to train people to move away from lecturing. The sage on the stage is no longer valid in current context or otherwise. It shouldn't have been valid for last so many years, but I think technology has completely taken that advantage away of a teacher knowing all. I think Google knows all. Students need to know how to ask right questions, which means that faculty, not only the pedagogy, but they also need to reorient themselves as their own role. They're more facilitators today. They also are the mentors, which is the role they earlier did not play. They were just coming, teaching the subjects and going away. Today, the role of a teacher is of a guide by the side, by a mentor for life, somebody who can help a student to curate, craft a life, not just a career, not just a course. I think the role has become a lot broader, and they have to now reorient themselves that what is it that they would want to bring in. Just the subject knowledge is taken, it is given, you have to have it. And then even if you don't have it all, which you will not, if you are a true student of a subject, not just as a teacher, you realize that that domain is moving faster. So just like there is a lot of skilling required in other industries, teachers, professors, academics have to reskill themselves into 3 to 4 critical components. First, concept, which means concepts are being challenged. Concepts are continuously changing. Theory is changing. And a lot more of new things have to be brought into the class. So if you're not ready, you're not contemporary, you're not cutting edge, you're not collaborating with industry, you're not collaborating with your own ex-students to bring those cutting edge things in the classroom as part of the content, you are irrelevant, first. Second, how do you curate pre and post content after the classroom session has happened? Which means you have to completely reimagine the way you are describing and designing a particular course. Pre and post, very critical. Third, you have to go back to the traditional format of learning, which Indian education system of Shastras, our old age wisdom, has taught us. So I will say in Sanskrit and then I'll translate it for you in English and for others. Shravan, listening. Smaran, memory. Chintan, Manan and Chintan, thinking and reflection. Abhyas, practice, and then meditation. So this was how Indian education has defined for centuries, for thousands of years in India, that this is how you learn. Now we have to see what component we are doing in the classroom, what pedagogical tool we are curating for thinking, reflection, what ecosystem we are creating for them to practice what they have learned and complete the feedback loop. So second is on the pedagogy. How are you crafting and changing your pedagogy from lecture mode to more discussion oriented, to have small classrooms, small within modularity of 1.5 hours? What are you trying to do in thinking, reflection, action, prototyping? Design thinking will become very critical, embedded element of teaching every course, which means pedagogical innovations are very much important, which means teachers have to undergo design thinking process. They need to learn themselves, get into the process of how do you do this. Then embracing technologies of various kinds. Zoom is a transfer medium, but you also need to see what other technologies you have to use to ensure that you are in a position to interact, engage. Google Classroom, for example, Slack, for example, multiple platforms. How are you engaging and using them for sharing, disseminating, creating, crafting the learning outcomes of what you're being able to teach in a classroom? So I think teachers have to continuously reskill, change the way they have been doing their teaching. And it's a challenge for us as administrators to first change the mindset, then provide opportunity, then provide workshops, training sessions, handhold faculty, send them into multiple environments where they also take courses on MOOCs and others to learn new things. So they have to work on all the 5 and 6 elements of the teaching learning process, right from content to the content delivery, to the technological adoption, to the pedagogical new methods which are emerging. And at the same time, they also need to start looking at opportunities to create an ecosystem with their students to walk the talk. So for example, if I am teaching business and if I am not in a position to create, craft, or work with my students to create an enterprise at the campus and incubate it, I think I'm failing in my duty as a teacher. I think the roles of teachers have to be completely redefined. And as our administrators, as Sasmita and I, our job is to empower our faculty, empower our deans, and ensure that we are all part of a larger group of people who are helping and training and retraining each other. So we have to provide those elements of learning and opportunities for them to, and incentivize such innovations in teaching learning. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. I think
Ashin, could I add a quick point to that as well?
Please
If that's
do.
all right?
Please.
Yeah. So to add to what Dr. Dwarika shared, we're also finding in our work with many higher education institutions that faculty development is a big challenge, and it's a high priority as well. And broadly on our platform, we're seeing a lot of faculty development happening. And I would say in broadly 3 key areas. The first is enabling digital teaching. The second is enhancing academic research and publication. And the third is upskilling across academic domains for the faculty members themselves. And let me take a quick example here. So, firstly, digital teaching. It's important for faculty to realize that teaching online, right? Whether you're teaching a live course on Zoom or whether you're creating a MOOC on a platform like Coursera is quite different from teaching in a live class where you can engage students for 45 minutes or an hour. So many faculty members are actually coming to Coursera and taking courses like how to make a MOOC, right? Performance and assessment in a virtual classroom. And what are the foundations of virtual instruction? How do you make virtual teaching important? Because again, like I've been saying, even after COVID, virtual teaching is very likely here to stay. So how do we upskill faculty and get them ready for that? And then because many faculty are very keen on research and publication, they're coming to Coursera and taking courses like understanding research methods, or they're taking courses like writing and publishing a scientific paper. So that's the second element that we are seeing faculty do that. And then obviously in the domains that they teach, right, or in the domains that they want to teach. So if you're a computer science faculty member and you want to teach machine learning, or you want to teach data science, and many faculty members are coming and doing that as well. And I'm looking at a list of top courses that faculty members are taking on the Coursera platform. And the first one is machine learning from Stanford University. These are faculty members. These are not just anybody, but when people come to our platform, they tell us what they do in their professions. The second is the science of well-being. So faculty are concerned about their well-being as well. And this is a course from Yale University. The third one is programming for everybody, getting started with Python from University of Michigan. The fourth one is learning how to learn, which is fundamental for all of us as human beings. And the fifth one, and I'll stop with that, is learning to teach online from University of South Wales in Sydney. So those are the kind of content that faculty are taking on the Coursera platform, and aligns with the three use cases that I spoke about earlier.
No, you're totally right, Raghav, because I've seen this trend, and maybe Sasmita, if she's involved in hiring of faculty, would see. In last 3 years, I have seen the faculty CV, not from the fresh PhDs from the IITs, the universities and others, but people who've been experienced and working in academia for last 4, 5, 10 years. I have suddenly seen a lot more of one specific column in their CVs where they are now adding a lot of Coursera and edX courses as part of what they are doing for their own continuous learning. I think that's a very welcome change. And you're right about the art of well-being. I have also taken that course from Yale, and it's a beautiful, beautiful program. I think suddenly this is a huge change which has happened in the teaching fraternity in last 10 years. I have seen that there's a lot more of self-awareness has come among the older as well as the younger faculty about continuous improvement. I think the market has signaled them. At the same time, the generations of learners have changed, and technology has completely disrupted whatever advantages they had in terms of their knowledge base for decades. For decades, it's suddenly gone in 1 year's time. It's no longer an advantage anymore, which so they have to suddenly wake up, and it is a good wake-up call for everybody to start investing in themselves to becoming a lot more. I think the biggest fear is a fear of being irrelevant. So there is a question which is being asked from the audience, which about how Coursera and others might make universities irrelevant and redundant. But I think the answer from my side, and Raghav might add, is about we are partners in this process. The content Coursera is bringing is in partnership of the universities. Slowly, they are partnering Indian universities as well in certain cases. So that we are in the partnership of knowledge creation and knowledge dissemination. We are not competing to provide degrees to the students in that particular problem.
Yeah, absolutely. And Ashan, if you have a quick 30 seconds, I'd love to just answer this question. I get asked this question a fair bit these days. And I mean, clearly, I don't think we are at all expecting to compete with universities, right? I think Coursera does not create any content ourselves. The content on the Coursera platform is created by top universities and companies. So our purpose is to take top quality content and disseminate to a larger set of individuals. Our purpose is not to, apologies, that's the shift changing at the tea factory, at the tea estate that I'm at, if you could hear that. But our purpose is to be able to take what top quality institutions are creating and take that to a lot more learners to a lot more companies and so on. And very recently, IIM Calcutta, IIT Roorkee, OP Jindal University, IIM Kozhikode, so top Indian institutions have come onto our platform. And we're finding that their content is being very well received by learners in India, but also outside India. And to be able to take Indian institutions to the rest of the world, if that's a purpose that we can serve, then we would be completely honored to be able to do that. So, yeah.
Thank you. I would like to speak a little bit more about that kind of internationalism that you just raised, Raghav, about bringing Indian institutions out to the rest of the world. And I think we can do the same thing with students who are studying in India. And perhaps one of the very few benefits of the COVID crisis has been that that mindset has changed in terms of the physical, geographical boundaries that students and learners and researchers have. So if people are more open to collaborating with people that they'll probably never meet, does that create more employable students as well? And is an international focus something that your institutions consider to be of great value?
Yeah, I would.
Yeah, go
Sorry,
ahead.
maybe I can do a 30-second answer, and then the others can come in. I think there are two phenomena that I think are happening together. I think one is the acceptance and the usage, the much higher usage of online learning among students and working professionals. And the other thing is also for working professionals, remote work. You could be in any city in India, and if your job is a digital job, there are many companies who will employ you, right? Till February last year at Coursera in India, my team was in Delhi, in Bangalore, in Mumbai, in 3 cities. And today, I think we're beyond 25 cities. We have people in Missouri, we have people in Ahmedabad, we have people in Calcutta, and so on and so forth. So just the access to talent that this opens up, and even for talent, the access to opportunities that it opens up, especially if you're in a digital job that does not require physical presence to be able to do your job. I think that is exciting. And I think that's the phenomena that
totally,
we will see.
Today, I can really hire a faculty without the faculty traveling all the way to Bengaluru and deliver that particular content, because the particular faculty might be needed only for one specific course. For that, earlier it was the costs were too high, and I was unable to hire that particular person. So even in academia today, and because of blended, because of learning, because of all that, it is easier for us to now collaborate and open up. Earlier, in order to bring industry to my classroom, it was extremely challenging. I found that challenging in IIMs, I found it challenging in multiple other city locations, because executives will find it very tough to travel all the way from Bombay from California to wherever. Now today, I have access to industry world over. And for anywhere in the city, people can come to my classroom and deliver that cutting edge content. I really do not have to spend millions of dollars to have that particular content coming and deliver in that particular sense. In terms of collaboration, I'll tell you, I'm just 30 seconds on this, is that last summer I taught a 20-country program run by University of Cincinnati. So they have something called Back to College module for industry people who otherwise would have not been able to go back to college for various reasons. And University of Cincinnati used to do their business school. Professor Amitav Raturi is the one who created this program for Cincinnati people in a physical form. Last year, they opened up this program to people across the world. And I had fifth batch of 55 senior people, from entrepreneurs to artists to academics to industry people, who took this course. This was I think a 10-week course with a certificate coming from University of Cincinnati. And we had some 7 professors from 5 or 6 countries teaching in this program. Now imagine such beauty of collaboration beyond boundaries, where a program is international, the quality and content is international, the cohort is international. People are, in my course, were from 20 countries. And the faculty is truly global and international and collaborating. How beautiful is that? And more beautiful part of it is that none of us charged any penny for it.
Thank you, Dwarika. I think that's an extremely positive note for us to actually end our session on. So thank you very much for that example of the way that we can actually collaborate so internationally and so positively moving forward. Thank you again, everyone on our panel, for joining us today, for sharing your insights. And we certainly hope to speak with you again very soon. And also thank you to our audience for tuning in and submitting questions throughout the session. There will be an on-demand video available. So if anyone does want to revisit any of these points, please do. And we will also publish a summary of today's session. So please keep an eye out for that. But for now, I would just like to thank everyone again. We hope to see you again soon, and goodbye.